All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the world's greatest podcast, the Pod Podcast. We've got Harish today from Cumin Club. I'm excited to talk. I think it's a really cool product. I'm surprised the name wasn't already taken. I think it's a great name. It's clever. It lives up to the name. I mean, to me, from the outside looking in, when I tried the product, it tastes like the real deal. It's real deal Indian in CPG form, which is not easy to come by. So excited to hear more. Harish, welcome to the Podcast. Let's hear about it. Why did you have the crazy idea to get into being a CPG founder?
Yeah, Peter, thanks for having me on the podcast. Firstly, I'd love to just start off by saying how great a partner pod has been. You're revolutionizing the distribution industry. So, yeah, very, very happy to be here.
Thank you.
Now to your question about why this business or why the Cumin Club. I think it all started with a personal problem as good businesses do. So Ragot, my co-founder, and I, we are immigrants. We lived in India and then moved here about 10 years ago. And then when we landed here, I think we were not prepared for what to expect. India is a very different culture. When you live with your parents, you have food prepared, laid on your table, comfort. And then when you move out, labor is not expensive, so we were able to afford cooks. So we really didn't know how to make any Indian food, but we ate that every day. And then here we are, struggling to get good, authentic Indian food that we can eat on a regular basis that's not filled with preservatives. So that problem was a problem that we felt in a deep way and said, what are the solutions out there? And when we went to buy products off of store shelves, it tasted nothing like what I grew up eating. And that's why that was a big surprise. So we've lived with that problem for a few years, and then we realized that, hey, there has to be a better solution. And that's when we started the Cumin Club. But when we did that, we wanted to do so in a responsible way. We didn't want to go out with another product that was filled with preservatives or additives, things that are not good for you. So we were really careful in how we crafted this product, and we can get into the technology in the rest of the conversation.
So like you said, the best products are ones that are built to solve a problem, right? And you weren't alone. There's millions of people from South Asia in North America that are looking for authentic Indian or South Asian cuisine. And it's in some parts of the country easier to come by, but it's not ubiquitous. And it's easier to come by in a restaurant than it is in a grocery store for sure. So if you don't want to eat out and you want to have a home cooked meal, it's it one I guess one of the problems is it's not simple food to make from a flavor perspective, right? There's a lot of sourcing and you have to have a real pantry of spices in order to execute it well. So if CPG is going to do a good job of it, it could solve a lot of problems for a lot of people. But it seems like the approach that you've taken is a more courageous approach, for the lack of a better term, to say, we're going to do it the right way, the authentic way. We're not going to dilute it. This is what these recipes are supposed to taste like. And some people are ready for that and some people aren't, but we're going to roll with it, right? And I respect that and I appreciate it. But how did I think I'm interested to know about the tech behind it for sure. But the thing that stands out to me is the execution, right? Like the idea is a good idea. It's a good, simple idea, but the execution, how do you get the flavors to be so locked in? Like what are the secrets that to the formula that you can share? Like how did you get the flavor to be so vibrant in a CPG form where it tastes like you're in a restaurant?
Yeah. So there are a few aspects that come together to make that happen. So as I was mentioning, we were very particular about maintaining the flavor profile of the dishes as they are found in India, right? Like this is what I ate, grew up eating. So I want to replicate those same flavors. So that was one of our primary goals. And now, how did we get there? So we decided that we have to set up our own facility in India because we wanted to control the recipe and the spices and the flavors that go into making the dish. So we have our own FDA registered and audited facility in India where we employ chefs from different parts of the country. And India is a very regional country. There are many different cuisines within Indian food. The North eats differently from the South, from the East, from the West. It's very simplistic to say Indian cuisine, but there is a lot of nuance there. And what that implies is the spices used for each of those dishes are best when they are sourced from that specific region. So when we make a tikka masala, we source spices from the northern part of India, whereas when we eat a sambar idli, that's from the south. So we have spices sourced locally. The good part is the supply chain exists, and we just make it a point to source spices from different parts of India and employ chefs who are experts in their regional cuisine. So that is very important to us. And then the second piece of that puzzle is the technology. A lot of other CPG products out there, microwavable kits, etc., they use a technology called retort packing. What that is just taking the food, making it, and sterilizing it at very high temperatures and letting the packaging do the preservation. The oils, the spices, they all sit in that pack for like 6 months and 1 year. They seep into the package, and what you get is there are two couple of challenges. One, that high temperature sterilization alters the flavor and the nutrition profile, and second is because of the way that food with the liquid has been sitting on shelf for 6 months, more than 6 months in some cases, you will have a strange aftertaste. And we've lived that, right? Like when we moved to the US for lack of other options, we did try all of those packs out there and said, hey, why am I getting a strange aftertaste across all these? So we didn't want to go with the same technology. That's when we ran into this concept called freeze drying. Freeze drying has existed in other forms, like fruits, vegetables. There are like pharmaceuticals. So there is an industry of freeze drying that exists in India, but no one had taken and applied that to everyday Indian food. I mean, pasta freeze dried, like strawberry chips are freeze dried, the ones you get in Starbucks. They just put a chip inside and it becomes a strawberry. So there are other applications, space food, etc. Right? But why not take that same technology and apply it to everyday Indian food? And that's when we set up a facility. We have four years of R&D behind us because you have to modify that technology to make it applicable to all kinds of Indian food, curries, lentils, etc. And so we went through that process, and now we have three freeze dryers in our facility, and we've learned how to make that process work for us. And with freeze drying, there is no high temperature heating of the food. All we are doing is removing the moisture, and the flavors are preserved, the nutrition is preserved, the spices, they maintain that same vibrancy in the pack. All you're doing is rehydrating by adding water. So that's how you're maintaining the flavors, and that's why we're able to transport you to India in a pack, right? As you said,
Yeah.
it's like restaurant quality food or like food that you would find in India, but at the convenience of your home. And that's the differentiator, we think. Like I say it in as 2 points. One is this is authentic Indian food, not Indian inspired, and second is this is freeze dried, so you will get the real deal flavor, not the retort pack food that you see out there.
How did you, like, so you've got the technology and you've got the concept, but how do you, I mean, like to your point, Indian food as a whole, there's far more recipes than you're ever going to fit into one line of product. How do you decide which recipes to hone in on? I have to imagine during your R&D process, you would have dozens and dozens of different choices. How do you know that you wanted to do, a dal tadka versus a palak paneer? And what are some really cool recipes that you wish you would make and haven't made yet?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So as you said, India has many recipes because the Indian cuisine is just regional, right? Different states have different dishes. So the advantage for us going into retail now was that we started as a D2C business. We're an online business. We do about 3 million in annual revenue online, and that means we get a lot of data from customers and buying patterns. when we started off with the usual suspects, things that you find in restaurants, things that you find easily on shelves. Not the exact same flavor, but the comparable flavors. Like for example, there is a Madras lentil. That's actually not a real dish. There's nothing called a Madras lentil in India, which is the funny part. But if you use black lentils, that's dal makhani. So we went with the usual suspects early on, and then started building a set of dishes. And over time, what we do is we learn from the data and see what of those dishes are resonating with the American consumer,
Yeah.
and then like cut down on the SKU list. And for retail, what we did is we went through all of those dishes and the performance of those dishes and chose the top four. The interesting part is there are two other interesting aspects. One, our customer started off as immigrants like me, right? Like 90% of our customer base was immigrants in like 4 years ago. But now it's half and half. Half of our customers are not of Indian origin. So now with our D2C website, we are able to get data on consumer preference across different ethnicities, because the retail consumer is going to be Indian, Indian immigrant, Indian American, and the American at large, right? So we are able to understand both customer segments preferences and take that into account when deciding what dishes to launch in retail. And the second part I was telling you about is we have taste testers, that's important for us. So we ask consumers on our E2C site, what are the next set of dishes you'd like to see? We conduct polls, surveys,
Oh
we
yeah.
get data from them, and then we identify say 3 or 4 dishes that we want to work on, R&D on. We create those dishes, and then we have taste testers from different parts of India, and then we send the food to them and we rank them. Out of the 3 or 4 dishes, we only take dishes that have passed through 80% of the taste tester profile, right? Like 80% of the folks should say this is ready for launch, and that's when we launch the product. So there's a few different aspects that come together to make sure we choose the right dishes and execute on them well.
How many SKUs do you have now in total in retail?
In retail, we have 4 SKUs. On D2C, we have 30 plus SKUs.
Wow. So you've
Yeah,
got all sorts of data. You have a bench, for the lack of a better term, of
correct.
extra SKUs that could rotate into retail if different retailers are interested. That having been a retailer, that puts you in a position of strength because you could, in theory, offer all sorts of exclusives to different retailers in different parts of the country with different SKUs. It puts you
Yeah,
in a position of strength.
that's very
So,
interesting.
from a packaging perspective, I love it. I mean, I'm a vintage fan. I mean, this feels retro vintage to me. I think there's a lot of earth tone. You can very clearly see the product on the package. It's easy to read the font. It's clear, but a lot of what you see, especially in this category, is very maximalist, super bright color design. And I like that too. There's nothing wrong with that. But it seems like you've gone in the opposite direction, right? You've zagged, and so you've gone for an understated earth tone blend. I'm sure that was by design. How did you arrive at the design aesthetic that you came up with?
Yeah. So what we had in mind when we went into the design process is that we wanted to make sure we communicate clean, right? Like because our product is made with clean ingredients, no preservatives, no additives, same ingredients that you would use when you make it at home. So what communicates clean? You don't want clutter, you don't want a lot of color, you want something like mild and easy on the eyes, but at the same time you want it to stand out. So how did we stand out, or how did we want to stand out? We went into the retail aisle and we looked at what's on shelf. Just a lot of color, as you said, like eye catching, trying to grab your attention, which is the purpose. And how do you stand out in all that color is by going in the opposite direction, as you said, zag when there's like, and we said like, can we just come up with a very earthy, clean tone and let the dish image do a lot of the talking? And then when you have a brand blocks, you have 4 dishes. Now you have like a white kind of base, and then you have the dishes doing the talking. When you have a block like that, it will stand out against all the yellows and the oranges that are itself right now.
I mean, when everything is is sensory overload, the way to stand out is just go in the opposite direction, right? And it actually, if you're on a shelf surrounded by primary colors, you will stand out by being earth tone, right? And but I think it also makes the product itself pop. You know, like the Palak paneer. I mean that's a very clear, high resolution image. It looks like real food because it is, right? So I think you've got I'm really interested to see. I think you've got a lot of room to grow. You mentioned how your market has changed and evolved. My take on it when I've pitched this to retailers is it's authentic Indian. It's authentic enough that you could sell it in India to Indian consumers and it would work, but it's also accessible at the same time. It's easy enough to sell this to people who aren't Indian, who don't have the knowledge of regional Indian cuisine because it tastes good. I mean, at the end of the day, it just tastes good. And even if you don't know the provenance of what, paneer tikka or dal tadka is supposed to taste like, you can know that what you're eating is a quality product, and I think that that will resonate with a bigger TAM than just a niche market over time. So,
Yeah, Peter, that's absolutely right. As I was mentioning earlier, half of our customers are not of Indian origin, and that's very promising. That's what gave us the confidence to go into retail. Because if half of the population like, we have tens of thousands of customers, right? And it's a subscription business on our website. And despite that, if half of our customers are not of Indian origin, that says something about the product and the willingness to try authentic Indian flavors. I
yeah,
do think and believe that over time, palates are changing. People want to experience the true flavors of different regions and different countries and not like westernized and like inspired flavors. Those have a role, and they really led the path. But now I think it's time for authentic flavors to shine. And that also gives us the confidence to make these products out, put these products out there. But as you said, approachability is very important to us, and that's why it's important to share the story. It's important to share like what this technology is about, and you can just make it at home by adding water to the product, and it will taste good at the end of it, right? If nothing, you'll enjoy the taste and buy more of it, even if you don't understand the product as much as
that's
you'd
right.
like to.
Right. Well, it's a step. It's a gateway. So no, I think you guys are on to something. Good luck. You've already accomplished a lot. I think you've got a lot of room to grow. I think it's going to be fun watching you. So everybody out there who's watching this, give it a try. You can find it at retail. You can find it online. Check it out. Thank you, Harish, for joining the pod.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. I like to end by saying, and these are all vegetarian dishes. We have simmer sauces that people on our website that people can add their own protein to if they want to add in their own chicken. We have rice dishes. So we have a variety of products, but our four top SKUs are in Fresh Time, Mariano's, and a couple of other retail chains. And if you're not near one, you can just go to thecuminclub.com. And I created a special promo for podcast viewers. It's called Pod30. So that will give you 30% off, which will let you try a variety of dishes at an attractive price point. But Peter, appreciate you having me on the pod, and then I'm hoping to be in more stores along with working with Pod, and look forward to being back someday.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.